Hello, thank you for coming back to What Did AI Say? At VickyL 4AI. I think I got that right. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into our question for today. This is episode 20. Can you believe that? 20 episodes? That's crazy. Okay, here we go. Were noses removed from artifacts in an attempt to hide ethnicity? That's a good one. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with what Chatgpt had to say about that. The removal of noses from ancient sculptures and artifacts was not typically done as a deliberate attempt to hide ethnicity. Instead, there are more historical grounded explanations for why so many ancient statues, especially from Egypt, Greece, and Rome, have damaged or missing noses. Number one, structural vulnerability. The nose protrudes from the face and is one of the most fragile parts of a sculpture. Over time, due to natural erosion, accidents, and handling, noses are among the first features to break off. Many statues were buried, exposed to the elements, or mishandled during excavation and transport, contributing to damage. Number two, iconoclasm and deliberate defacement. In some cases, especially in ancient Egypt, damaging the face of a statue, particularly the nose, was a ritual or symbolic act intended to deactivate the spiritual power of the image. Okay, never heard that before. Egyptians' beliefs held that statues could serve as vessels for the Ka spirit, and damaging the nose could prevent the statue from breathing and functioning as a spiritual conduit. Okay, during periods of conquest or religious shifts, for example, when Christians or Muslims replaced earlier polytheistic beliefs, defacing statues was common and symbolic. Number three, colonial erasure. Some modern theories, especially in popular discourse, suggest that noses were deliberately removed from African or Egyptian statues to obscure Black or non-European features. While this is a provocative idea, and the colonial era certainly involved rewriting and whitewashing history, which we know, there is little direct evidence that the widespread removal of noses was a coordinated effort to alter perceptions of race. However, the reinterpretation or recontextualization of artifacts during colonial times did contribute to downplaying the African identity of ancient Egyptians, often through academic and museum narratives rather than physical defacement. That's very true. Conclusion. While most broken noses are due to practical reasons like fragility or iconoclasm, there's a legitimate historical critique of how museums and scholars in the West have sometimes marginalized or misrepresented the ethnic and cultural identities of ancient civilizations, particularly Egypt. That is so true. Any movie you watch, that is so true. But actual removal of noses to hide ethnicity was not a common or documented practice. Okay, that sounds pretty good. That was ChatGPT. Let's go ahead and see what Deepseek had to say. Just a reminder of the question. Were noses removed from artifacts to hide ethnicity? The removal of noses from artifacts, particularly ancient Egyptian statues, has sparked various theories, including the possibility that it was done to conceal ethnicity. However, the evidence suggests a more complex interplay of cultural, political, and religious motivations rather than a singular effort to hide ethnic identity. Here's a breakdown of the key perspectives. Here we go. Number one, deliberate defacement to diminish power. Many scholars argue that the removal of noses was an act of iconoclasm intended to deactivate the spiritual or political power of the depicted individual. In ancient Egyptian belief systems, statues were thought to house the essence of the person or deity they represented. Damaging the nose, a symbol of breath and life, was a way to disrupt this connection, rendering the statue powerless. This practice was common during periods of political upheaval, such as when new rulers sought to erase the legacy of their predecessors. Wow. The fact that both Chatgpt and Deepseek have spoke about diminishing the power of the person the statue was made in replica of, their spirit coming back. Wow, that's very interesting. That people believe so much that that was a possibility that they would actually deface statues. That's very interesting. Okay, let's move on. Number two, racial theories and early Egyptology. Some scholars, like Vivant Denon, noted that the Sphinx's facial features appeared African, leading to speculation that early Egyptologists might have defaced statues to downplay Egypt's African roots. However, this theory is complicated by the fact that many ancient Greek and Roman statues depicting Caucasian figures also lack noses. So it was prevalent. They thought the spirits were coming back in these things, suggesting broader iconoclastic trends rather than racially motivated vandalism. Okay, number three, religious and ritual destruction. In some cases, noses were removed during religious conflicts, such as when Christians or later Muslim rulers defaced pagan statues to suppress their worship. That sounds about right. The nose, as a prominent feature, was an easy target for symbolic erasure. Similarly, later Egyptian dynasties vandalized statues of past pharaohs to that's going to kill me right there. Delegitimize their rule. I think I got that right. Okay, number four, natural erosion and accidental damage. While deliberate defacement explains many cases, natural erosion and accidental damage over millennia also contributed. Protruding features like noses are more vulnerable to weathering and human contact. Number five, ethnicity as a secondary factor. While ethnicity may have played a role in specific instances, for example, the Sphinx's African features, the broader pattern of noseless statues across cultures suggests that the primary motivations were political, religious, or ritualistic rather than purely racial. Okay, Deepseek's conclusion. The removal of noses from artifacts was likely driven by multiple factors, including power struggles, religious in iconoclasm, and ritual practices, with ethnicity being one possible but not predominant motive. The phenomenon reflects the complex interplay of art, power, and belief systems in ancient societies. Okay, I can completely get with that. So how does any of this affect our daily lives? Well, now that I look that question up and I understand better about the belief of the spirits being able to come back in the statues, that makes a lot of sense. And also other religions wanting to deface statues so that people would no longer pray to them or, give them offerings or whatever. That makes complete sense. So I can see that. And I think that, yes, because Later, all of Egyptian movies or all movies in Africa were all of a sudden white people. That just added to it. So, yeah, I could completely get that. So, how does any of this affect our daily lives? Well, I mean, like anything else that we learn, it enlightens our mind and helps us to better process new information that comes into us. So, I mean, every day you want to be learning something new, and you definitely want to be incorporating that information into your mind so that you can shift your paradigm as you add even more information and be able to come to your truth a lot quicker. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our positive saying for today. And today, this saying is going to come from Alice Walker. And for those of you who don't know who Alice Walker is, Alice Walker she's a storyteller, she's a story writer, she's a poet, and she is also a Pulitzer Prize winner for one of her novels, which is The Color Purple. So that should kind of help everybody get to knowing who she is. So she has an abundance of sayings, but one of them that affected me the most is the one that I'm going to share with you today. So I hope that it impacts you like it impacts me, or like it impacted me when I first read it. But everybody's affected differently. So here we go. Again, Alice Walker. The most common way that people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Okay, let me repeat that. The most common way that people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. You have power. And that is one of the main things that I fault man-made religion for, because so many people are now conditioned to think that their power comes from outside of them. But if you are truly a reader of the Bible and you believe that you were created in God's image, why would you ever think that your power is outside of you? If you're created in your God's image, your power is within you. You have the power. And one of the ways that we as a society have been rendered weak is through the teaching that our power is outside of us. No, your power is inside of you. You have the power to make the change, the difference of whatever you want. You just have to stop getting and allowing yourself to be distracted, meditate, and harness the power that you have in order to accomplish what you want to get done. Okay. Whew. I feel like I said a lot. Anyway, thank you so very much for visiting with me on this episode for about 14 minutes. See you next episode.